Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the Progeny Podcast. It's been a while since our last podcast, but trust me, today's podcast is worth the wait. My three guests are no strangers to myself or the community. Since the last lockdown started in March last year, they have taken Instagram by storm, and I am delighted that I was part of the special journey. I am honored to be joined by Mullah Ali Fadhil, Haji Hayder Al-Kazaz, and Sayyid Hassan and Nawab. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Hello, Haji. How's it going?
Thanks for joining me. Today's going to be the first time where I'm presenting and I'm a guest at the same time.
Right.
Because I'm part of Haraka Al-Hussainiya, which was established November 2019 was our first event.
Yep.
But obviously there was talk of Haraka before this date.
I kind of just jumped on, didn't I? Like I came back from a ziyarah trip and all of a sudden Haraka was on and I'm like, yeah, I'm in. I think that's how it happened.
Was it spontaneous that we came up, or was it?
Yeah, to be honest, like we just like called each other and just said, let's just have a chill. Yeah, like it was a chilled out gather. I think we were at a cafe at the time.
Yep.
And then I don't know.
Good old cafes.
It just randomly came up. I don't know how it
do
started.
you know what it was? It was the evolution of the idea. It's been going on, or the idea was going on for a couple of years, right? But it wasn't necessarily, the idea wasn't to have what Haraka is now, if that makes sense. So when it started off, we talked about everything from doing majalis to having a for example, a mokib. I think that's how it first ever started. We talked about having a mokib, and
we said we're going to have it. We've been going arba'in every year. So we said we'll have a mokib in arba'in.
Yes.
Right. Yeah,
and then someone, maybe Sayyid Hassan or someone, mentioned, what's the point of the mokib? It's just going to be once a year. Let's benefit the kids here, the youth here. That's how it started.
Yeah.
And then we spoke about,
I think from the stories that I was listening to you guys, especially when it comes to Arba'in, it was like, I'm going to go Arba'in anyway. And there were a couple of youths, not adults, but youths who were like, look, we want to go Arba'in, but we don't know the process. We don't know how it works.
Right.
And so can we come with you?
Right.
So each person took 3 or 4 with them. And all of a sudden it became like, okay, I'm going to go.
That's actually a really good point. So the last Arba'in trip we went to, if you remember, Haji and Sayyid Hassan, unfortunately,
I
couldn't make it. But we had like the typical place that we rent in Karbala where we stay had like, typically we have like 6 or 8 people.
yeah.
And if you remember, I remember one of our close friends took a video and we were all sleeping, and it was like, look, these guys look like baklava on a tray. Basically, there was about 30 or 40 people in one room.
Literally.
And
Baklawa.
exactly, yeah. And I think
Kazi is definitely a baklawa.
Kazi, he's sweet, yeah. So there was, I think during that trip we realized that there's a lot of people that want to have something that they could call kind of like, whether you call it a movement or something to attach to that could support them, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember the naming? How the naming came about?
The naming was actually like, it was like a fun activity.
Yeah, wallah.
Yeah, it was good.
We started like,
We came
up
with everything.
what kind of words,
313 to
We started going through the alphabet.
Really?
what kind of letters,
We're literally going, let's start with A,
yeah,
B. And then we said it would be
wasn't there
nice
for
if it will be the same letters, like AA or BB,
alliteration, yeah,
something like that. And then it came up with
H. So you didn't get to
yeah. Actually,
L.
so we were
we were
didn't.
on it for like 45 minutes.
We didn't, but I think part of it as well was thinking about where could we get inspiration from the name from, and obviously, from our youth there was a movement called Haraka Al-Haydariya, right?
Yeah.
definitely.
And then we were like the evolution, and Haydar Imam Ali alayhi salam, his son, Imam Hussain, and that's how.
Haraka Al-Hussainiya
Which is
came
quite,
about.
it's quite fascinating because a lot of people that want to start new organizations, they feel like, oh, we have to have everything ready, we have to have the place ready, we have to have a logo.
We didn't have
before they
anything
even-
ready.
Just do it naturally. Sometimes
Yeah,
it just comes together 4 or 5 committed people who actually have a cause in mind and they have this direction. I think the good thing about us is that we all pull in one direction. Not one person wants to go and do something by himself. It's
The
just
cause, this is very important. The cause, if I remember, was that the youth need some sort of guidance.
Yeah.
They need a place they could go to every week. And Sayyid Hassan's had good experience with the youth from previous work that he's done, yourself as well. I want to talk about the problems of the youth today. Or let's go back maybe in those when we first started. What were the problems that they faced, and was it similar to our problems? Would you say?
I think there's a big difference, to be honest, and maybe I'm slightly removed from the community in terms of that age. But from what I know, and this is one of the major reasons that Haruka was a really big thing for me at the time, is that I had like just a sidfa, I would say, at that time. There was multiple. What's a sidfa in English, guys?
Coincidence.
A coincidence. Coincidentally, at that time, loads of people would approach me and said, right, my younger brother or my younger cousin or, you know, my younger sister or whatever is into things that at the time when I heard them was quite shocking, to be fair. And I think we had spoken about these things together, just in like a quite kind of like a relaxed environment where we were chilling together. And we said, right, there's an issue here that our community needs help, right?
Like what?
Anything from
many,
Drugs?
Drugs, premarital relationships. We're talking about knife crime, which is a big thing as well. You know, I remember it came to a head where I heard there was a majlis once done in London where at the door they seized multiple knives, right? Which for me was so shocking. Like during our time, there were still some people, don't get me wrong, there were still some people that went down that path. Yeah. But it wasn't as mainstream.
But they were clear,
right?
They were clear,
right?
You
And
knew
also,
who they were.
Also, they were like chastised a little bit by the rest of like the community kind of pushed them away.
Yeah.
Whereas now, and it's probably because everyone has Instagram on their hand or Twitter or Facebook, whatever.
Social
it is.
media changed everything.
Yeah.
It definitely did, and I think now it's slightly more glamorous, right?
Yeah. Other thing is like away from that is just having, I think, a safe place to go to, and also there was a language barrier back in our day. There was a major language barrier in the sense that kids couldn't talk to their parents, and parents didn't know what was going on because, and don't forget, I don't know what generation they call it, first generation, second generation, third generation of people who actually migrated to London. We had the parents who were like, I need to make sure I'm in this alien place. I don't know the language, I don't know the culture, but I need to safeguard the future of my children. So I need to create a place which is similar to my culture, and that's where, for example, me and Said Hassan would grew up in a culture where it's Karbala, but in London. Literally, everything that happens in Karbala is in London.
Yeah,
so we grew up in that bubble. Now that bubble, the parents were like, look, as long as they're in this bubble, they're safe. They can go to school, come back, no problem. But someone may outfall, they didn't realize that 50% of the time, 60% of the time, we're getting influenced by what's happening in school.
But
and then slowly,
you're saying, you know, we couldn't talk to our parents. What, can kids talk to their parents today?
No, but like
It's even worse now.
If we run back the years, I remember in Rasulallah days, I remember very, very like clearly. We actually did a conference once with like the parents, and I think it was
that was
by,
wicked.
I think Emir, was it Rada Khazraji or
Emir and
Yeah.
Rada and stuff.
and they created this conference where they invited the parent, like the father, and the son to come and sit down. They would voice their opinions, the parents, and then after that, the floor would be open for the
kids.
youth, the kids to like reply to these, you know.
Yeah, I think Haj, you've got a really good point there, because even with something like what you're saying in that meeting, right? That's a very like constructive kind of future thinking way to get together the younger and older generation. But no way that a kid is going to sit in front of his dad and Rasul and say, by the way, I carry a knife, or by the way, I smoke weed on a Thursday night. It's just not going to happen.
Just before Haruka.
But I tell you what, it was the first time that the parents and the kids, even to like just a 5 or 10%, have some sort of understanding between them, because it was very revealing. Like some of the parents were like, no, I want my kid to be 1, 2, and 3. Khalas. He doesn't enter this place. He doesn't go to that place. And it was like, ooh,
Yeah, I
okay.
remember it went for like a few hours.
A few hours.
It was
It must
heated
have.
as well. Like
It was very, very revealing, yani, in terms of what the kids were able to say. And they almost like in a shy way, it's like, Baba, look, I want to be able to do this, or I want to express myself. And the father's like, well, I didn't know.
Yeah,
Well, one- you know,
I think fast forwarding. I think one of the issues, just touching on what you said, is that even moments like that, it's still hard for the older generation, or the kind of, we call them the first generation or whatever, the people who are brought up in Iraq, to be able to sit with younger members of the community. So I think the idea of Haraka, its inception essentially was to have a way to be able to say, right, these younger members of our community need to be helped. And by the way, it's not just in terms of religiousness, right? And kind of like whether or not this person
The
practices.
parents, I have to, regarding the first generation, you know, I wouldn't want to be in their place. I'm talking about those that had to migrate for political reasons or to save their lives and then come to Iraq. They probably, most of them, I'm talking again the Iraqi community here.
Yeah.
They probably, most of them left their homes. They left anything they owned, their work, their business, and they had to come here, start a new life in a country which is strange to them, a country they don't understand the language or the culture. and they're taking their kids to school, and the fact that we have a community now of those kids that grew up in London in particular, with parents that didn't understand the language, and they came out okay, in my opinion. The parents deserve some credit.
Oh, no doubt.
Because no
100%.
doubt, if this was any other community where the parents thought, you know what, I'm going to just let the kids go into the street and run wild and do whatever they want, we would have ended with Charaha. They would have forgotten about their faith, their practices, their sha'a'ir, everything. So they did a great job. I think they did a job which was very difficult. I feel that next generation, their job should have been easier. Sahih? Because now they understand the language.
The culture is the main
They
thing,
understand the culture. They grew up here. They studied here. Went to school. But it's now become even more difficult.
Yeah.
Because if those days it was difficult to speak to your father about, or your mother about what you're going through, I feel today it's even more difficult.
Yeah. No, it's a fair point. I think first of all, the first generation that came over, what they done is, when you think about it, what we have
Allah
to deal
Yasa'adhum.
with, honestly, they're absolute soldiers. Like the men and the women.
You
that
could just
came
sit.
over
You
from
could
a
sit
different
down,
country.
listen to stories.
Like the
and stories,
stories, yeah,
and stories.
exactly.
It's crazy. And by the way, it's not that those stories aren't selective to one or two families. Every single family
yeah,
has
of
gone
course.
through some hardship to come over from a different country. Whether it be, by the way, Al-Haraka, or if there's anyone listening
Yeah,
from
of
any
course.
other countries, it's the same thing, right? But yeah, as Hassan's saying, understanding the culture has helped in some ways, as in, for example, the people now who are our generation. For example, when you think about academically, when you think about from a work perspective, when you think about the way they've integrated with society or the skills they've developed. But actually, it's caused a problem because they're so far, I think, so far into the culture, it's probably meant that they've lost a little bit of the essence of what made us when our parents are raising us, if that makes sense. So I'll give you a quick example, and I think most people can relate to this for their parents. When you're in a supermarket and you go past like the aisle that has alcohol in it, right? If you try to walk into that aisle, you're either going to get a pull or a slap on the back of the head, or don't go in there, it's haram, or that's negus. Or
Don't look at it.
Don't even look at it.
Allah, don't
right?
look at
Okay,
it.
you guys
always
look.
avoid that.
Yeah, my one, I was allowed
My
to
one
look.
was don't look at it.
I was allowed to look. Right, but actually, that's a, you take that issue and think about now the conversations that our guys are having is, can I go to the pub after work?
It's not even, can I go through the aisle that sells alcohol?
Completely different. I know it's a silly little example,
No, it's a great example.
but the reality of it is that things have changed, right? Our definitions of what's acceptable and not acceptable has changed, and therefore the conversations that maybe what someone wanted to have 20 years ago are different to the conversations now, but they still exist.
I think one element of Haraka is and the issues that we're helping hopefully to overcome is a fun place to go to. Say, how many times did we go to Rasulullah on a weekly basis? Obviously, one, because our parents took us there, but because it was fun. I get to see my friends. I get to play patball. Then I get to play football.
we made it fun for ourselves, to be honest.
made it fun for ourselves.
Yeah, like we used to get in trouble a lot.
We get our tennis balls confiscated by Muhammad Hussain.
Yeah,
Allah
we used to
yabarak
chuck
bil
it
khair,
on top of the
inshallah.
toilets.
On top of the toilets.
Yeah,
and
and we
to
used to
climb up.
and then get it back again.
Yeah. So all of these things were part of the fun element. That's why I wanted to go, because it was fun. Yeah, I learned a thing or two, but I wasn't going there for the sha'a'ir, or I wasn't going there for the religious side of it.
Yeah.
But the thing is that's why creating a safe place where you're I guess giving the faith and the religion in a simple way, as long as they take bits of it, they know that they're growing up in this culture. When they reach 15, 16, 17, they'll have questions to ask. That's what my personal journey was.
So
I had
Haraka
questions to ask.
al-Haydariya changed everything for us, we can say.
No,
Abu
not
Zainab
really,
al-Kadhimi.
Well,
Actually,
I-
no,
I-
before that, sorry.
I think
before
well,
that.
it depends on who, right? So for Hassan and Ali, you guys are talking about our
Yeah, so
age.
like even I was just gonna say before that, we were like I thank Amir Taqi for this.
Yeah.
He when I was I think I was about 10, 9 or 10, and he actually started the Cricklewood Youth Club.
Okay.
CYC.
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 I get there's a lot of resemblance between CYC and Haraka, because CYC created a forum where everyone, the whole community, can come online and speak to each other.
Yeah, like Amir saw that there was a big gap
There's a need for
where
it.
there's nowhere else for these guys to go, and like they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
The NRA.
They're not understanding any of the
They're
part
not
of the
understanding
lecture.
the lecture. So let me do something. He started this initiative.
Wasn't it catered only for that RA?
It was at the time. It was,
I-
and then
so,
people
yeah, as-
started coming.
Well, as
in.
an example, I never attended anything CYC related.
I did that.
I was in a lot of my younger years. I was in Dar al Islam, and Dr. Ammar Abdullah, who you know, his dad Abu Maytham had done
Used to
something.
do the youth clubs and
Yeah,
downstairs.
he basically was like a superhero. He used to bench like 120 kg in front of
Probably,
us.
he probably still does.
Yeah, mashallah, mashallah, mashallah.
So he's our Hajradi equivalent then.
basically, and so
Yeah,
I spent a lot of time there. But I think that the age that really got me personally was Haraka al-Haydariya, because that was the age of 16, 17, college, a lot more freedom, spending late nights out, and that group of people I used to spend a lot of time with. So I think it was Mustafa Field who was part of that, and Sayyid Aman Nakhshawani,
It was a group of
And
Hassan Baraka.
and Hassanin, Haji Amir as well. Yeah.
What it did was it really opened up our horizons.
Yeah, it did.
And I was only ever affiliated with one place, but going to Haraka, I'm like, oh,
There's different
guys-
shit.
We used to meet
there's
different
different Shia.
different
Number
guys,
one,
yeah,
there's a
exactly.
Pakistani Shia. What? Like what? I was shocked. I'm not gonna lie. And growing up, I was like, so hold on, not all Shias are Iraqi. Which one is that?
There you go. There you go.
Not all Shias are Iraqi. It's like, whoa. I was actually mind blown. I'll be very honest. But then again, Haraka provided that platform. Haraka
So
al-Haydariya.
this is really interesting, because I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed in working with you guys and being able to provide this small service that we do to the community is the fact that Haraka al-Haydariya was a very neutral place. And one of the really cool things about, I don't know if you guys remember this, they didn't shy away from taboos. So that meant that there'd be a lecture one day about drugs, or there'd be a lecture about marriage, whether it be permanent or temporary, and there'd be, for example, there'd be a guy who would follow one marja and another guy followed another marja, and there was a neutral stance always.
And the fact that they did it in different locations.
Right.
Happened in Abrar Islamic Center and Dar al-Islam.
Indeed.
Yeah, but they stayed in Abrar for a
For
while.
a long time, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
because it was
Because the fact that they didn't mind being at different locations, having different.
Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was the probably first ever organization that had no affiliation to anything. I can't think of anything else that didn't have an affiliation. So, for example,
Abu Zainab was he affiliated with Hoi?
No,
or
no.
was he doing his own thing?
no, Abu Zainab.
was doing Allah yahfadha Haji Abu Zainab, who
He done a lot-
attended
he done
a
a
lot of
lot
our
to
Haraka programs.
he was amazing.
He was always
even Haraka Hussainiya, by the way.
Yeah, I'm talking about Haraka
Yeah,
Hussainiya. He organized the youth trips.
Right.
So there was
But
always.
he didn't have.
I even went Umrah with him.
Yeah. I went to Manchester, a few
One
other
of the
places.
best
but
trips
but
I
he
went to
didn't
as a
have
kid.
a weekly place
Yeah.
where there'd be a weekly program. You know, it was more actually.
he
to be
done
fair, there was
tournaments.
football.
He
There was
done a lot of
football.
tournaments.
Yeah, there was,
Football
and he was doing that side. But I think in terms of a place where you'd go and listen to somebody give a lecture
There was
and
none,
learn about
yeah.
religion, there wasn't anything that wasn't affiliated.
Yeah, but-
And I think that was a really, really big step at the time. I don't think they knew how progressive they were being, but that is one of the things that is so important to us. Always in all the things that we've ever done, and our backgrounds together make a really nice neutral stance where we're happy to help
Yeah,
anyone.
also,
and do
don't
anything, right?
don't forget that back then there weren't any English lectures.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
When
were.
we were like 10,
quite
10
new,
to
yeah.
15 years old, we hardly had the English lectures. And
Those same
stuff like
names are
that.
doing the same stuff today.
Yeah.
Subhanallah, they're still doing
Hey,
their
mashallah.
bit for the community,
Mashallah.
which is unbelievable. Since I feel sometimes not a lot of youth. I mention this a lot. Not a lot of youth have come up and said, "I want to do something for the community." Why do you think that is?
What, in this day and age now?
Yeah,
I think.
Or are there?
Access?
or maybe there are. I don't know.
I think there are, but they just they're scared because they don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I think it's an issue of
No
empowerment,
clear.
right?
Yeah,
Are the elders giving them the opportunity? I always ask them as well.
that was
are
an-
they
that
getting
was
the
an issue
opportunity?
before. That was an
Here we
issue
go.
before. I think
Isn't
that
it an
was
issue
wide
today as well?
I think it is. I think all you have to do is look at Al-Akbar Foundation and the great work that they do. And they've been amazing for the community, but they're essentially a spin out because they weren't allowed to be
Absolutely.
empowered to do what they want. And I was saying, Hassan, you have a lot more experience with them, but
Yeah, I mean, like we had a lot of issues with the center that we used to go to,
yeah,
and
They just weren't giving the opportunity,
Yeah, the
huh?
case of we want to do something, and they weren't giving us the opportunity to do that.
right,
And so what we did is we just went to a majlis one day, and then a couple of our friends said Hayder Al-Jizani and said Hayder Nasrallah were reciting there, and then we just attended. And in that Fatimiyya time, I think it was about 7 years ago, and then we just thought, you know what? If everyone's coming to this program, it's the English program. We might as well just make it a regular thing.
no, it's an amazing thing that they've done, and I think it's the same for now, Haji. I think if people are given the opportunity to do it, I think they will step up. So I think partly it's empowerment and opportunity. I think probably you guys will agree is that one of the issues that we also have is that it's not really I want to put this in the right way, but it's not really a cool thing to do. you don't normally associate community work or giving a lecture or being a dude with anything remotely fun or valuable to you as like in the society rather than Islamic reward, right?
I remember I sat down once. I had an issue in my university days, and I called Sayyid Ammar, and I sat down with him in a cafe, and then he mentioned something. You just mentioned something about being cool. He said, So I asked him a few questions, and then he said, this was him talking back in probably 15 years ago.
Right.
He said, I want to make it look cool and be religious.
Yeah, I think he's definitely done that.
It's fine to be religious and at the same time be cool. So that was him 15 years ago. And like you said, maybe that's died down a bit now.
I think so. And I think, isn't that something that we're trying to do? Like, by the way, obviously we can talk about this later, but the whole, you mentioned kind of taking Instagram by storm. I don't think we've taken Instagram by storm, but the growth on it, when we started the lockdown, we had like 28 followers on Instagram.
Within our community, I feel, yes, we have taken.
Yeah. Within London, bro. Maybe the whole of UK, actually the whole of Europe.
I think
compare Haraka, without mentioning other names, compare Haraka with other organizations who are doing similar things. And credit to everyone that's doing it. May Allah bless them. And I hope they do more. But I'm saying a lot of people now are saying, Haraka is doing things, and they're setting trends for other organizations.
Yeah, so you're right. So we're trying to make it cool. And that's why we want to be accessible when we do the Baramij in D1. And just as a side note, hats off to D1 for giving us they've been amazing. Place.
By the way, we talked about support and empowerment.
Yeah, that's
like
support.
They've since the first day. So Sayyid Fadhil from Diwan Al-Kafil and his son Sayyid Ali as well, and the rest of the team there. They were amazing. Yeah, right? They didn't once say, and I think this is the key point. They didn't once try to censor or filter or get involved. I mean, we had an event that was 3 hours of a Call of Duty tournament on their big screen on the mobile.
Yeah.
That was amazing. How much fun did everyone have there?
Yeah.
They didn't once come and say, "Wait a minute, you're Thursday night here."
We had a range of people, by the way. Huh? Right. We had a different crowd. We had the religious crowd. We had the nerdy crowd. We had the hip crowd. We had the crowd that you like.
The druggy crowd.
The druggy crowd. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I think also that's we're kind of a microcosm of that society as well, a little bit.
Well, just four of us. I would have a druggy here. Unless you look like one, to be honest.
What? As in not a nerd?
No. You said a microcosm of 4 or 5 different backgrounds: nerdy, druggy,
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go to druggy. Alhamdulillah, I wouldn't go to druggy. But by the way, just so side note for the listeners, I'm a bit of a nerd. Yeah.
No, I know you are.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a nerd.
Maths whiz.
As in, like, I basically until the age of like 16, 17.
I thought you were going to say 26.
All I cared about was studies. Like no football, nothing else, no going out. Like
that's actually quite important, by the way. That's important because a lot of kids, when they reach the GCSE years, they're so used to play, waste time, kids, friends. When it reaches that critical time of 2 or 3 years where you really need to put your head down, I see some youths. You know what? Like, I'm going to divorce the world. I don't care what's happening. I'm going to put my head down, focus for 2-3 years. But most of the other ones, they're just so used to playing and playing and playing. When it comes to that, it's like, no.
So that's my point. Like, for me, by the way, just I'll tell you from a personal perspective. When Haraka first started out, I had Abu Lajay Mustafa, who's a lecturer. I had Mullah Ali, who's a Radud. And Sayyid Hassan, who's been working in and out of Majalis since he was like 2.5 years old. He's like, Sayyid Hassan is like, do you know Tiger Woods was started walking up a golf club? Sayyid Hassan started walking up a dishdash, giving out chai basically. He was like 2.5, right? And so for me, like I've always been an attender of these things.
I attend, someone that attends, which is important as well.
Very important, but for me it was really easy to say yes to the prospect of doing something like this because I know I've got someone who's got the experience, someone who can give the lectures, and someone who can do the du'ats and the songs and the majalis and the latmiyat and stuff like that as well.
The last physical program before the lockdown was in the first week of March, probably. Yeah, because lockdown started around mid-March last year. And it was the wiladat of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, salamullahi alayhi. And then the week after, there was the lockdown. How was the transition? Do you guys remember? 'Cause
I think it was quite natural to us to go online anyway. The good thing about us that everyone's got unique ideas and good ideas, and there's no filter system on these ideas. This is a good idea, let's do it.
We were
So-
doing Dua Kumail live before that more.
Yeah, to be
We were
honest,
just
like-
keeping that for some weeks. We would come and put the phone in front of you. Do you remember? Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know, I
Yeah.
didn't
But by
realize.
the way, as a side note, when lockdown started, do you know how many followers we had on Instagram?
Just
28.
100, 120.
It was about 100 and something. 100 and something.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it's about 100, like 120, 128, I think it was at the time, which is crazy. So actually, the beginning transition, although it's quite natural for us because like, Mullah, you've had loads of experience of doing online and podcasts and Haji yourself as well. I think a big part of it was we went from 180 people physical to there was a program I remember.
17, 16.
No. There was a program that the whole lecture that we were doing, which was like we made like an hour to do the stage and we put the screen in the background.
Oh.
There was like 6 people watching. Honestly,
Yeah. It didn't phase us though, because we knew that the beginning is going to be a bit difficult.
yeah.
It didn't phase us at all. Though.
You know what? I
Did it?
think. Well, I don't know. I guess it depends on what you guys think because we didn't really actually talk about this ever. But the thing that got me was that something needs to change in these programs because we were like quite far away from the stage, and it was more like listen to this lecture rather than.
And we didn't notice that people were speaking, and we could actually interact with these people.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that gave it the next level is that the
think so.
interaction then with the audience. But by the way, that then blew up Haraka to a whole different, wider audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we were only supposed to. The whole idea of Haraka was to provide a safe place where it's fun and religious and
For
faith
youth, yeah.
for youth in Northwest London. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was our niche.
Don't
That's
forget
it.
the way we set up as well. Is like one of us took care of the lecturers, one of us took care of getting the reciter, and one of us did that with the poster. The way we've set up like that, and the ideas that we used to bring in week out, it made it much more easier than how people usually think that we're doing it. So like we used to, for example, spend hours having a meeting about the poster, for example, at the beginning.
Used to.
Yeah.
We still do.
No, we still no.
Yeah. There's a guy in the background.
It's still
we
a
won't put-
contentious issue, guys.
Yeah.
If anyone's out there that can do posters, please do
Wallah,
hit
this
us
is a
up.
good plug. Honestly,
Please hit us up.
Don't say it from Mustafa.
Okay, sorry.
Honestly. Oh wow. Okay. He's just trying to get rid of the black. Get rid of the black.
I think, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, it's all about the intention.
100%.
It goes back to the intention. How
Yeah.
important do you guys think the intention is? Because you just mentioned something about, there was points where at the beginning where we had 6 people watching. It's like we didn't even say anything. We didn't even say, "Oh, why? Let's give up."
Well, I remember a conversation that we all had with each other, and then we went home and we would, we had those conversations with our wives as well. I remember, and we said that every single week for indefinitely. So when you put like a calendar outlook and there's no end date on it, that was the plan. That every single week we do a Thursday program, even if it means that Mullah Ali reads Dua Kumail and Haji Abu Lajain does a lecture and me and Hassan in the audience.
That was a big advantage though.
But that was
Because we have a reciter and a lecturer.
But that was so our plan was no matter what
We
no
do
matter
it there,
what,
yeah,
there's
every
a-
week.
There's a weekly
even if
program.
me and him are just sitting there.
Every week,
No
at
matter
least.
what.
I remember, yeah.
Right, and I think that intention was to be able to have Ali, as you said, a safe place, but also to be able to, don't forget that the whole idea of this is that it's Haraka Al-Hussainiya, right? It's in the name of Imam Hussein, and I think we all know that no matter if we done this a million times over together and had a team of 5,000 people rather than a team of 4, unless we had the blessings of Imam Hussein, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we would never ever.
I think on that
remotely-
on that note, there's a lot of organizations that I saw in the past that had a lot of hype about them in the beginning, but for one reason or the other, they would kind of just die down, or lack of commitment, or for example, lack of passion, or they didn't really have the resources to put it in place. But I think one thing that we all talked about, and following on from your point, is that we have to be consistent. There's no way that this is going to go anywhere if we're going to do things for 5 weeks and then maybe have a break and then do another 5 weeks. It's just literally every single week consistency, and it's showing.
So going
Yeah,
back,
we have that harga.
Yeah,
we
I
have
think
that
so.
harga, the passion for it.
So I'm going to put my presenter cap on now and ask you guys. You started off Haraka to help the youth, the teenagers that were having issues, that were in an identity crisis where they're not going into their mosques anymore, their centers. They're not really having that relationship with their mosques. Some of them would come and will only go in during a certain time, like during Latom or during the food time, or. And then when Haraka went online and onto Instagram, were these kids even watching? Did you lose that touch that you had with them? What were you doing for them?
I think we can only base that on the feedback that we got, which is from parents. Parents did come up to Haj Hayder, to myself, to even yourself, and they told us, look, we have had instances where I'm sitting with the family, we put it on the big screen and they are watching, so keep it up. Now, is that part, are the kids actually part of that? The demographic that we were targeting, are they part of that feedback? I'm not sure. I've got feedback. But we've had case studies. Yeah,
we have, and I've got feedback from some of the youth. I think as well. Don't forget that Haruka's then at that time. How can you guarantee getting anyone involved? What can you do apart from do something online? Now, Instagram is probably more accessible than anywhere else, right? And it's a lot easier. Like, imagine we were just on YouTube. How many less youth would watch us? But this is just a pop up on your phone. We've also done loads for like the younger kids, so the age group of like 6+. So we had Haruka Kids. We done a tour of the Hussain legacy as well, and yeah. So we've got. It's quite interesting that I've heard literally 50-year-old sheikhs and also 7-year-old kids who watch Haruka live on a Thursday, and I think it goes back to the whole idea of, number one, what you said, had you with the intention, but secondly, we're there to have fun, right?
also the topics that we were talking about the fun part. So that's what's actually drawing in those 14, 15, 16-year-olds, is that the majority of the program, or half of it at least, is the quiz and the fun element to it.
Yeah, and not just that. Like, I remember we still do this. We still do it till today. The topics that we used to bring out at the start mainly were like people like Mustafa Masood coming on live and speaking about educational, issues and how to keep your focus during quarantine and study well and stuff like that. So we used to always try to channel something towards the age range that we used to work with in Diwan Kafil. Yeah. Before that, before Mustafa, I think did we have Kadzi?
No, we didn't. But I think
we had Azam. To speak.
Well, this is your point. We always think with the youth in mind. Whether or not the youth attend on Instagram is slightly more difficult.
That's what I'm again presenting up.
Yeah.
The elders would say the same thing 20 years ago or
Right.
25 years ago, and they would say, we would always think with the youth in mind. And then all of a sudden, fast forward a few years later, you look around the mosques. I won't mention the mosque name. A few years ago, I was in a mosque for Laylatul Qadr, and I asked one of the people involved in the center. I said, look around. He said, what am I looking at? I said, look around. Who's attending? He was like, everyone. I'm like, count how many people under the age of 25 are here. He looked around. And I said, by the way, I'm over 25, so don't count me. So he looked around. There was probably 4 or 5. And one of them was actually a 4-year-old sleeping. So I said, you can't count him. He's with his dad, he's sleeping. A'mal Laylatul Qadr. I don't know which Laylatul Qadr, but it was one of the Laylatul Qadrs. And there wasn't more than 4 people under the age of 25. And I said, where are the youth? So he said, we're doing everything for the youth. We're putting the youth first. I said, doesn't matter. They're not here. So are you going to be following the same footsteps where you're saying, Wallah, I'm putting them in my mind. They're all, everything that I do is for the youth, but they're not attending. It's not my fault. They're not attending.
I think.
Do you see where I'm going with this?
100%.
But
100%.
by being economic, those youth are probably at an English majlis.
Well, no. This is the point. Is that every program we have, there's difference between keeping the youth in mind, and I think what the old guard used to do is to say, right, with the youth in mind, there has to be a program. But our programs are oriented around the youth. So look, we've done everything from PS5s to quizzes to, and by the way, as a side note, in between the lockdown, we were open for one, and then we went back into a lockdown, if you remember that. And that was probably our record attendance.
The problem we had, and we mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast, was there was, in our generation, when we were younger, there was kids that were doing things they're not supposed to be. And what the centers, and you said, we know who they were. They were a handful of people. Everyone knows this guy's carrying a knife, for example. This guy's doing drugs. This guy's doing this. They're not part of the center. And what ended up happening is these kids were literally asked not to come. in an indirect way.
Indirect, yeah.
يعني they wouldn't say don't come
They
in.
were made to feel unwelcome.
They were made to feel unwelcome. شوف هذا شنو لابس.
Yeah, the
Look at
looks
what
and
he's
stuff like that.
wearing. The looks he gets. He feels unwelcome. And I always say a mosque is when you go in, you're supposed to feel like it's your home. It's your Hussainiya. You felt that. You felt that probably in Rasul A'zam. You probably felt that at Rasul A'zam in some occasions. Okay, not really. I
You weren't welcome, bro. Don't worry about it.
He never came when he was young.
Yeah, he was dark
He
boy.
only like having like
I felt at home when I was in Khuti. We're talking 99, 2000, 2001, up to 2002, when with all due respect, Khuti outdid every other mosque in Muharram when they had Abu Bashir. And the Latom I remember was from the member, from the member,
You didn't just drop that bar.
from the member,
You did not just drop
from the
that
member.
bar.
Let me finish what I'm saying. I'm the presenter. From the member to the door. Allah yarham Sayyid. Allah yarham Sayyid Abdul Majid Al-Khuti. He used to organize the Latom, and from
Sayyid
the
Majid
door,
used to organize the Latom.
Sayyid Majid used to take off his shirt and do Latom. From the door to the, and Sayyid Majid used to do them with the mashq. There's a video clip where at the beginning of the majlis you see him holding a flag and spinning the flag, and then when the mashq starts, holding the tas and doing the tas. He was known for that. And then when the Latom started, he used to be taking off his shirt, organizing the Latom. Not sort of organizing it to say I'm in charge. He was in charge, but no, organizing it to make sure that it flows right. And Khuti were the first to bring overseas reciters. They had Abu Bashir al-Najaf for 3 years, and it was packed from the beginning of the Mambar to the end. So those days I felt like home. That was my point. So anyway, moving on. And then those people that did not feel at home were told to sort of, why are you here, Madri shunu? Is Haraka gonna be welcoming people that maybe aren't religious?
100%.
And how are we gonna make them feel
If
welcome?
that's a yes or no question, then yes. Of course
And
they're
how?
meant to be
How?
welcome. How? I guess we're relatable people. Like Hayder, when Hayder walks in, he's the same attire that he is now, so people can relate to him.
What
we are
do
actually.
you mean by that? That's a good point. What do you mean by like?
On a serious note, like we dress like the youth dress.
Yeah,
we haven't lost
exactly.
that touch of our youthness, and so when kids look at us, they're like, oh wow, like he's wearing the latest trainers that I would wear, or he's wearing the latest jeans, or he's wearing these brands and these logos. And so that's one way of relating. I couldn't relate to مع كل احتراماتي obviously, but when a Sayyid was to speak to me, or a Mu'ammam used to speak to me, there was a level of respect, and I couldn't tell him anything that I was going through. I couldn't say anything out of the blue. But with these kids, they can relate to us. They can be sharp on Wiyana, they can joke.
By the
with
way,
us.
we've had attendees of when the Haruka was live, and I presume on Instagram as well, but it's hard to know exactly who's attending all the time on online. But we've had in our physical weekly program, we've had some of the young lads who have come in on some form of intoxicant, 100%.
Yeah.
And I've confronted one of them before, and I've spoken to him about it. We've had a guy come in who's high. We've had a guy come in who I know categorically is involved in premarital relationships, and to an extent where he's had issues with his family and stuff like that. We've had guys come in who have carried knives in the past as well before, and this is not we're not publicizing that we're looking for the guys. But I think as a side note, these guys that come in have, and one thing that I've got the feeling and the feedback sometimes as well is that everyone feels welcome.
Have they changed?
It's the three cases of the guys that I'm speaking about. I'd probably say 2 out of the 3 I've seen positivity in it. And this is, by the way, do you change over 5 or 6 programs? No, you change over months and years, right? But I would definitely say yes, they have.
Also on that point is that they weren't, when they are coming in these states, they were not only made to feel welcome, but they could speak to us.
They could come and have a chat.
They could have a chat. Yeah. And that's one of the most important things, I think.
Yeah, like we used to do things like when you put the sufra down and have like dinner with them, I used to see us sitting down on the side, and then I used to tell Hayder, for example, Hayder, look, let's pick up all our food and let's sit with everyone else. Let's spread out between them all, and just have a chat with them. Just tell them how the event went and stuff like. Let's get into an interaction with them, that kind of sense. And we used to like do our program in certain ways so it can be in a way where you can communicate with.
And
with
the fact that these youths, how old do you think they were? 15, 16?
Yeah, I say they're kind of. I say the age is like between 14 to 18.
And the fact that they
came
out of their own, no one forced them, no parent was there, out of their own choice, they chose to come. Wherever they go afterwards, that's none of our business, right?
Is it not?
As in, there's only so much we can control, right?
Yes.
But as long as for the 3-4 hours that they're there, do you want to do the dun 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 or?
No, go.
Oh, no, okay. it wasn't that bad. Yeah?
It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
So as long as out of their own choice, they came. So you got
That's really important. I think that's a really valid point. The fact that maybe in those earlier days, the late 90s, early 2000s, some kids were forced to come. Your program, they actually enjoyed it, just like Haruka Al-Hussainiya's, Haruka Al-Haydariya's program, where kids actually looked forward to Friday night is Haruka night. My next question would be, we've got a real problem now with drugs. How do you think that can be tackled? Because, I'm talking about my days. I don't think I'd call myself a nerd, but in my days where if someone smoked a cigarette, it was like, it's like, how can you smoke a cigarette? Or if someone, it was that. Maybe I was hanging
very
around.
frowned upon.
Yeah, frowned upon if you're smoking cigarettes. But now people are doing drugs, like as in weed and marijuana.
That's now normal, unfortunately.
And that's how is this going to be tackled? This is a big issue, because if we are saying that, obviously, because we don't want to all of a sudden when we open up after lockdown, end up with 50 druggies at the door.
No, I don't. By the way, I think it's
this is a big topic.
It's a topic. It's a topic.
Someone told me. Sorry. Someone, just so I can finish off the point. Someone told me I went to this specific Hussainiya, and then just after Latom I left, and the same people that were doing Latom, a few of them, I don't know, he said half, I don't want to say half, he said a few of them, and I don't know what the numbers were all smoking drugs outside. It smelled like I had the whole place smell of weed. He goes, it was really bad. We just finished the majlis and it was just outside the Hussainiya, and he goes, I was with my wife. She's like, what's the smell? So he said, I felt so embarrassed. I told her, I don't think it's from us. It's probably from somewhere else. Because I felt embarrassed to say, well, yeah, it's these boys that have just come out of the majlis smoking weed.
Right.
How are we going to tackle that issue?
Sticky,
but you know what it is? The problem is that we're not like trained professionals who like.
How is it going to be tackled? This problem needs to be.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing, and I think Haruka, one of the things.
Are you having these conversations basically?
Well, I probably think we're not having them enough as a first point, but I'd say the second point, just touching upon what you said, Hassan, which is we're not experts, but one thing we've never shied away from is bringing in an expert to help with it, right?
Yeah,
definitely. And so I think what we're trying to do as well is with the weekly programs that were physical, and obviously less so with Instagram, but with the physical side, we're trying to get people to trust us. We're trying to get these people to kind of fill their time to come in weekly, to look at us as kind of friends rather than, I hate the word organizer or founder or whatever that is. And
a lot of the parents don't know their kids are smoking weed.
100%.
100%.
But isn't it? Goes back to your intention question, which is why are we in this? And we're in this. I'll talk about from a selfish perspective. Got it out. 1 second. I'll press this for myself.
There we go.
From a selfish perspective, my major stake of interest, my major shareholding in Haruka is for my son. Because I want him to grow up in a place where he's got somewhere to go to that he's part of. That means that he won't turn to drugs at the age of 16. So first of all, we're creating that safe space. The second stage is, as Hassan said, and we've always talked about this, we've got people to talk about CVs. We've got people to talk about journalism. We've got people to talk about education. We've got people to talk about COVID. Those people are experts in their field. They're not, again, this is one of the problems that the bigger mosques have. They think that a turban on a minbar can address all the issues, but that's not what we believe. Does anyone between us?
With all due respect to the turban, disclaimer.
Of course,
then I get attacked by turbanators.
No, absolutely no. Don't. Without the turbans and the institute,
We wouldn't be here.
Yeah, there'll be no point of what we're doing.
One of the brilliant ideas of Sheikh Hilli, he used to come and take his abaya off, and when we used to invite him to speak, he used to take his abaya off. And actually, like for example, in the Milad event, he actually done one of the challenges.
Yeah,
I don't remember what the challenge
Bricks
was.
and flicks.
But yeah,
Bricks and Fricks. He was
yeah.
the memory one.
Yeah, and then and he used to come and tell us, look, I'm gonna take my abaya off and take my jubba off because I want it to be something.
Why? Because he wants to relate to the youth.
So we're gonna have to fight this issue. Is we're gonna have to bring people who relate to these kind of things from the past, and basically tell them, look, this is what I went through. I don't want you guys to go through the same thing. I think this is the best way to do it.
The aim is to facilitate. We're not here, like, as everyone's saying, we're not here. We're not experts. No one knows. But as long as we lend our ears to people that have issues and they may want to talk about something, we're more than happy to.
So as long as they're not getting outcasted, I think that's the point I was trying to reach, which is that Haraka and all our centers and all our organizations, they should be open to allow anyone to come in, because the fact that they've come in is one step closer to them
100%.
knowing that they have this path, the path of Islam, the path of Muhammad and Al-Muhammad that they're following. And so we must be able to welcome them. We must be able to find solutions for them, just like the older generation did their best to find solutions for us. The next point is quite sensitive, which I want to bring about.
Go for it.
Again, presenter cup. A lot of people say Haraka is sexist. Haraka does events only for the males, or the brothers, or the sisters. Let me before I even mention that, let's be honest with each other. The women are oppressed in our centers. How? This is my opinion.
Right.
Not Haraka's opinion. This is Mustafa Masood's opinion.
Right.
The father doesn't mind having his daughter go to university and sit in a mixed gathering. But when it comes to a controlled environment in a Hussainiya, she has to sit either downstairs in the basement or in a different hall. Till today.
Partition.
So partition's fine. No, partition's fine. So if a center's doing, as long as it's in the same hall, my problem isn't the partition. La, that's a very good step. But it's the fact that they have to see the speaker on a screen. That's my problem.
Yeah.
The fact that
I agree with you.
So the women are oppressed in now. You've come, all grew up here, studied here. Either you were even born here.
I was born in Glasgow.
Glasgow.
Yeah.
Scottish accent.
It comes and goes. I've got a little accent, but it comes and goes sometimes.
Zin.
Right.
You've come and you've oppressed women even more. You haven't even invited them. You don't even want them. At least with the other centers, they put them in a different home.
To be honest, it's one of those ones where don't
There's
forget
a sticky one. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it's quite
Drop
clear.
the mic.
Go on.
I think it's quite clear. We don't have a women's program yet. That's it. There's no. How can you oppress someone when you're not in the same realm with them? Say that again.
You've got the space for it.
So
What's the problem?
This is the issue. Is the issue having the space or not? No. As in, look, can myself and Sayyid Hassan and yourself and Mullah Ali can we 1 second? Can we run in what we're trying to do and the way that we're interacting with the crowd in a physical place? Can we run between us a program for women?
Why not?
No.
Split the hall in half.
No.
Find two volunteers.
I disagree. Well, this is the issue. This is the issue, right?
I know.
So your point right there is split the whole in half. But we need the same versions of us and the help that we get. By the way, as
Go
a
look
shout.
for them.
The major element.
Have you even tried?
1 second.
even letting them in.
No.
You're not even letting them inside the
Wait.
door.
Wait a minute. No, I think there's.
Haraka live programs hasn't even been fully established yet. We started in November, if you remember, in 2019.
Good point. We
And
only
then
had 3 months of it.
Like
2 months of it.
Like 3 or 4. Like,
November,
until
December, January, February, March.
and like that was what?
4 months.
Beginning of March, 4 months.
Like 4 months. I mean, like.
And by the way,
after that, it
even
was just
then,
live.
even then, we were thinking about it. Even then, we were thinking about Haraka Zainabiyya.
How many times did we say we were going to do Haraka Zainabiyya?
We just needed
So for the
infrastructure
for
in
the
place.
benefit of everyone listening, because that jumped straight to Haraka Zainabiyya, we should have drumrolled that a little bit, right? For the benefit of everyone listening, the plan was
Okay.
Haraka Hussainiya is the male version because we are males and we look after boys, we get close to them, we chat to them, gain their trust, help the youth. The idea has always been from day dot of inception is to have a sister organization.
100%.
That's a good pun. Yeah. Sister organization that is Haraka Zainabiyya, right?
Why can't it be
Sister because they're females, but also sister organization.
sister organization? Sahih.
It's a pun.
Yeah, but I'll go back to my point. We
Why can't you have?
We haven't been established yet. we haven't been established yet.
We just want to join your programs. Why do you have to make it?
Why do you need to make a separate program for them?
Because
why is it okay for your daughters to attend universities and attend, I don't know, all these different things that they do outside of the mosque in a mixed gathering, which is uncontrolled, which inshallah doesn't happen, but it's uncontrolled and it might fall into sin or there's problem. And this is a controlled environment, and you're saying, well, I'm again playing devil's advocate. I'm fighting you against your own point, which is I'm going to do an Haraka Zainab. They don't want a Haraka Zainab. They want to be part of what you have. Haraka Al-Hussainiya.
Well, it depends on what the aim of the organization is, right? As in, for example, like I think one of the things that's missing.
So you're oppressing the women because your aim is to have a sister organization.
Well, one of the things. This is, by the way, again, this is my personal, and I think I'd probably disclaimer. This is not necessarily Haraka's view, but my view is that there's a too much emphasis in our community put on what we call like equal or same rights.
Why not?
I'll tell you why. The issue that I have is that what we're trying to do for Haraka and the youth that we get is to help the youth directly, which means that we need to interact with them, which means if there is a sister who's the age 16, 17, 18, is it suitable for me to interact in the same way? Probably not. Probably not, right?
Sahih.
In a controlled setting.
Sahih.
So we need the equivalent of the sisters who are out there to be able to run the same programs, to get the same backing, to get the same and put the same dedication.
And you're saying on the
run
same day?
To be honest with you,
It doesn't look. I don't think we're limited to say let's run a men and women's. For example, in Shahr Muharram, we had a program where there were some sisters there.
Yeah.
In Shahr Ramadan, we won't give too much away. I don't know if we're going to do it later.
No, we will.
We will, but there's going to be programs where sisters are welcome, right? Right. So for that reason, sorry, Mullah.
Yeah.
For that reason, we're not saying that no, they don't have the same equal. We're just saying the evolution of our organization
To make a difference,
is not
basically.
yet
To make a
there.
difference.
Exactly,
Yeah,
is
to
not
make a
yet
difference,
there to do something that we can hold our heads high and say, right, this is Haraka Zainabiyya.
Yeah, it's just to follow up on that point. If they want to come, hella bihum, right? But there's no impact on them. There's no.
Why don't you start up? They're gonna say, start.
Okay, look, if you guys want to
letting us
come, no problem.
through the
But
doors.
again, the whole idea of being that ear for them, being there, making
That's how they
sure
say.
there's
I don't want. We don't. Alhamdulillah, we don't have problems with girls smoking drugs. We don't want that at the moment. Smoking weed. No.
Look, as
We
in,
don't have
if
that
we
problem. Let us in through the doors first.
But if-
وبعدين.
There's no issues
For
with
us-
that. I don't see.
But
that.
but
for us,
genuinely,
again,
for
as
us
part
to
of
make
the-
a change,
Boxat.
for us to make change in the community and to make a difference in the community with the young, I'd say male, like community members, is for us to do it male to male. We can't have. Well, I can't say we can't because we might be able to, but we can't have that interaction with the male
Opposite gender.
or the opposite. Actually, not opposite gender. We can't have that interaction with that young boy who has come asking for help. He won't do that in front
By the
of
way,
a female.
What's stopping the sisters doing their own one? Why they? For example, I'm just again.
so
If it's for, what's stop them doing their own one?
You're gonna get attacked for that.
No,
By
yeah,
the way,
because
this is the side note.
They've got
of-
full empowerment to Rabiat by the. If they
Do
want, Of course they have.
When
if
have
they
they
want
got full
access,
empowerment?
if they go looking for it.
When I don't. No one even sees them. They're in a different hall. They're in the basement.
أنا ما لي علاقة
And the
بالحسينيات.
Hussaini.
أنا ما لي علاقة
So
بالحسينيات.
Mullah Ali's
Even
point.
in-
Mullah
I don't care about Hussainiyat.
Mullah
I'm talking
Ali's
about
point
if
is
they
why
want to come
don't
out.
they-
If they want to come out to have a hall is موجود. If they want to come out and have speakers.
Why
موجود.
do they need to be separate events?
They're not separate events.
No, wait a minute. I think this is the whole point of
Ah,
what I said.
yeah, they are separate.
What I said earlier, right? This is the whole equal rights thing. Just because we're doing a program for young men, it does not mean that young women have to be invited. This is a program for. And Ali's point is a good point. If there are women out there who are thinking and looking at this, as in, how did Haraka start?
Just
Three guys.
four
How
normal
did-
guys,
how did
four
Haraka
friends.
start?
Having
Why can't 4 girls do that? This is the
Exactly,
thing.
exactly.
This is the thing where I'm not a fan of this whole like, oh no, we have to invite us because you're girls and we're men. No, just as here we're men who made 4 things, will you make something as well? What's the big deal?
Well, that's the thing. As soon as
Let
they
me ask
see
you another
something
question. How did
successful,
Haraka Al-Haydariyya start? The first one.
they were friends.
Did it start for location?
No.
Did it start for venue?
No.
How did it start? It started in houses. Why can't they then do something in houses and then grow like that? And by the way, as a shout out to all the sisters, there are things like that.
Yeah, there is.
Now, what we're saying, for equal, I'm not talking about equal rights now. We're saying that we know that there's women out there who maybe don't have the voice they have, or there's girls that need help. And by the way, as a side note, you mentioned, maybe weed's not an issue. Trust me, it is. It is for women as it is for men, and premarital is an issue for girls as it is for boys. Probably,
So there's problems that
100%, and they need a safe place. They need role models. They need older members of the community, females, women who can be a bit of a guidance and a bit of a support as well. And what we're saying is, yes, we're inshallah, our plan is to have a spin-off called Haraka Zainabiyya to get some like-minded sisters who we've already got kind of a shortlist of already, and to say, right, this is what we're doing right now. At the moment, our Instagram program, I would say, is more attended by women than men.
Interesting point. I was gonna say, women representation within Al-Haraka. Obviously, when we were doing physical, we didn't end up having any women representation because maybe there was we done a series on the life of the Holy Prophet, which was done by myself, and then by the time we were getting things started,
still early days, yeah.
Why aren't there many women speakers? Where are they? There's only 5 of them on one hand. Wallah al-azim, I could probably count 5 international speakers on one hand. Where are they?
Ali's lost it.
Every single female speaker we could possibly invite. But where are they? Yani everyone's like, oh, men. But at the end of the day,
are they getting? They're not they're not getting the opportunity.
Where are they? Name me 10. Wallah,
I
we'll invite all of them.
I honestly don't think it's a woman or man issue. And again, I might not be popular for this point. Is our responsibility as Haraka Al-Hussainiya to get someone this is my issue of equal rights, for example, right? You want someone to do a job. You've got a man and a woman, and you know that man's better doing the job, or vice versa. The woman's better doing the job than the man. Do I then have to choose the opposite sex because of equal rights? I don't believe in that personally.
You have to pick the best person at that role.
And what is your intention behind it? Our intention is, how can we get the best people to fit the role online? By the way, I think it probably does mean that we need to look more. And Ali has more experience than me on this, but he's saying there's not as many. But we've got loads of examples of, the other day we used Sister Barak, who came on and done an Instagram program for us because she was a specialist in that field and it was about dealing with trauma. And we couldn't think of a man that could do that better than her. Right?
Sister Zahra Alawi, for example, when it comes to parenting and children and youth.
Yeah, she and I think some of our most viewed videos on IGTV are from Sister Zahra Alawi. So the reality of it is that no, we're open to it. It's not because we're sexist that we don't get girls on or females on a show. The issue is that from the pool of potential that we have, and guys, every week in, week out, getting a speaker to come on,
it's very
getting
difficult.
Mustafa to trying to do a poster in the right time, it's tough.
Yeah, we're going to need to find individuals, sisters who have the same passion as us. And we go through a lot.
So the opportunity is there.
Yeah, we go through a lot. We go through a lot throughout the week. We take days off sometimes. I know certain instances Hayder's taken days off because there's just too much events and too much presenting, and especially on Instagram. And so we're gonna need to find these kind of sisters who have the same passion as we do, and who also
sisters want it ready made. يعني مع كل احتراماتي, they want it ready made, available for them there and then. Look, it's the 21st century. You guys are technologically advanced. Just
they're gonna get attacked.
No, at the end of the day, it's all like, oh, we want everything, but it has to be there on a plate.
Is that equal rights?
No one's holding you back from going to get a center. No one's holding you back from getting resources. No one holding you back from anything. Parents aren't holding you back.
I think,
but this is not a community issue anymore. We're not talking about changing the culture of
Rasul
A'zam
or
Khu'i or Madri Shunu. We're not doing anything to do with that.
صحيح. But away from Haraka, I started this discussion away from Haraka, saying that women are oppressed within our communities, and you all agreed.
I agree.
You all agreed. So you can't say they've got the same opportunities as us.
Well,
back in the day, yes. Now,
ask a question now and tell me what's missing.
Again, if we're talking
Islamic
centers,
there's nothing missing.
Had to bring a sister to mention all the
issues
that they face in our community.
No, but if they say we don't have a hall, there's a hall available. If they say we can't get any speakers,
these are examples. I don't know if it's true or not. Yeah. But maybe some sisters might come out and say, "Wallah, we've tried contacting X center or Y center for a program, and they've said no to us." I'm sure there are examples now.
Yeah, there must be. And by the way, I
so they don't have the same opportunities.
No. But that might be the same as any brother going to that center saying, "Marco Majal."
When I'm going to give an example. I don't remember. we had a guest a few weeks ago.
Aravite.
He named it. He named it where you have an advantage over someone just for being who you are. So when I go, for example, to Fulan Center, I'm going to use Diwan as a center because I know them. When I go to Sayyid Fadhil or Ali Khursan, it's different to when Amir Reza goes to him. He doesn't know. For example, if I'm sure he knows him, but if someone else is going, he's more likely to say no to the person. Not that they will, of course, they're open to everyone. But my point is, because I'm going as Mustafa and they know me, they'll probably say yes to me. That's so true. Each person has an advantage. And the fact that sometimes we do this between ourselves. I'll give an example. When we want to invite a guest, when we want to invite Sayyid X is good friends with Mullah Ali because Mullah Ali read in his center. So we don't say, Hayder, you go and ask him. Yep. What do we say? We say, Mullah Ali, you go and ask him because he'll never say no to you. When we want to invite a certain reciter, the first question we say is, who's got a relationship with him? Who knows him? It's like a wasta thing. So you can't, I hope you'll take this back. You can't say that women have the same opportunity as us.
I will still maintain that women have the same opportunities as us. If a woman was to go to any center,
she'd have to fight more than you.
Ani, for example, should say, Ani, I know fulan, Ani bit fulan, I am the daughter
what
of
if she's not bit fulan?
She can still contact someone.
Can I add something that will help?
Nothing holding them back. There's nothing holding them back from going to any person saying,
can I add something that will help
Ali,
as a bridge between both your comments? Sorry to interrupt. Mullah Ali's point is that they have the same opportunity. And I think what we can all agree on is that sometimes the difficulty is higher for certain people, whether it be a sister or a revert or someone who has disabilities or whatever. It doesn't matter who it is, right? And I've just pocketed loads of groups, right?
Yeah.
But the opportunity is always the same, but it's harder for some people. And in some instances, it will be harder for sisters. In some instances, it wouldn't be. It depends on the scenario, right? What we're saying as Haraka, as a unit, is that we want to empower similar-minded members of our community who are ladies, who are females, to be able to run a program that we'd support. But I'll give you an example, right? We were in stages where we're chipping in and we've got no money as a group, but we need to spend £300 on food that week.
That's right.
Right? And the reality of it is, as you know, talk about opportunity, it's harder from what I've heard from females out there, and this is family, relatives and cousins and stuff like that. It's harder to get funding for female-only programs than it is for male programs. I've heard that directly from a few people, right? So we know that something like that may be harder for them.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's not going to be hard.
Right, but Ali's point, if I'm correct in saying, Mullah, is that everyone has the same opportunity. It's just about how bad you want to do it.
How bad you want to do it?
And I agree
if you
with that.
really want to get there, you'll find a way to get there.
I agree with that.
I think
مو أقل شيء والله شنو we're oppressed شفتوا everything's like proving us wrong or proving people wrong. شفت I contacted that person once وقال لي لا ما يصير. That's it. We don't have any equal opportunities. ما يصير bro. 1, 2, 3. How many times have we went to 5 different speakers on a Thursday? Everyone told no. يعني there's been many examples.
I think if we just set the foundation properly, like fully, and then get everything to where it should be, 100% Haraka Zainabiyya will be coming very, very soon. Like that is in our mind, week in, week out. We are trying to do it, and I think it's gonna be a big initiative, just as Haraka Al-Hussainiya started and is becoming. Inshallah,
I genuinely think it could be bigger, Hassan. Honestly,
probably, yeah.
I think it could be bigger.
The thing is, I'm wary of this. Why? Because if on a grassroots level, we want to be able to have a positive influence and change people's lives in the area that we're in. And what I'm worried about, and that again, my fears for the future is that if, for example, things do grow and you know more people want to be involved and the team has to be expanded and stuff like that, our level of actual real impact on certain people's lives may be limited. That's just the only thing I'm worried about. Or I don't know, maybe.
I don't know. As long as we find people that are like-minded, that want to be involved
people,
in the journey, right? As in, like, if you find sisters who are on the same page and you find other brothers to join the team who are on the same page, and, you know, their goal is to help people, their goal is to serve Imam Hussein, their goal is to, you know, think slightly more innovatively than typical centers, then I think we'll be fine.
And also have the ability to be free every week on a Thursday.
Yeah, the commitment.
You
can't be half in, right? And I think, you know, one of the things that probably is needs work from our side. So Hassan, for example, we're saying that Haraka Zainabiyya is going to be, is a plan, and we're working on it. Honestly, we could probably put more work into it now.
So what's planned for Shahr Ramadan?
Yeah, there's a couple of plans actually.
Couple.
It's been difficult because we always want to think of ideas that have probably not been done before and out of the box, and things that are interesting for youth and kids and adults alike. So bringing all that together,
Yeah,
a couple of ideas.
I think the first one we'll talk about will be what we're going to do online, because although the restrictions are lifted and we can have a physical program, we know that there's a massive contingent of Haraka followers that are online. And actually, just touching upon somebody's point a little bit earlier, which was like Instagram, we talked about being fun. If you've realized the way that, for example, our live shows go, they peak towards the fun bits, which is like our quiz is more attended than the lecture, which isn't, in my mind, necessarily always a good thing. But in the quiz part, there's still stuff to learn, but it's fun. So yeah, we're going to do something quite new and innovative online.
Yeah, it's providing an opportunity for people to showcase. That's what I'm going to say.
That's what you're going to say.
Yeah, but we're definitely going to do something live as well, inshallah.
The physical program.
As opposed to,
Well, it is now. As in, like when the time of this recording goes live.
Yes, it will be already
Posted out.
Yeah, it's
The
posted.
post
Yeah,
is out.
so which is
Yeah, we're going to be running an online program, and that's going to span across 4 weeks. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's the first time that this has ever been done in
sort of a
On a
talent show.
continuous.
in the Shia community. It is a talent show, and it's called Haraka's Got Talent. Yeah. So you've probably seen the posters. If you haven't, send through your talents.
Yeah.
We're basically going to choose the top talents on a weekly basis, and then there'll be 3 qualifying rounds, and the final will be in Eid, inshallah.
Inshallah. And the physical programs?
well, there's the obvious Laylatul Qadr that we're going to be doing. We have like a 5-6 day program, inshallah. And
Women invited?
women invited, inshallah.
Yeah, so we're quite,
Alhamdulillah.
we're
With
quite,
A'mal and you know.
So the good thing about that, sorry Haji, is
That's
that D1, and again many thanks to their full support, is that the facilities in place at D1, screen, lightings, mic, it brings a better experience for the A'mal nights. People want to come and they want to be in touch and be spiritual, and the infrastructure in place is perfect for that. So we thought, why are we going to miss out on that, or why would we let people miss out on the opportunity by bringing them in?
yeah, so actually it's interesting because for the nights of the 6 nights of Laylatul Qadr, and of course the striking of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, and also his martyrdom, that's the type of event where we're happy to welcome male and female guests, because we're not limited in what we can do. There are also a couple of physical programs that are going on that are just for young boys. So for example, we're running a workshop in Shahr Ramadan, which needs to be more intimate, which needs to have like 3 or 4 kind of male role models or moderators, if you want, or mentors who are running that workshop. So yeah, that's kind of the bulk of our programs. We've been asked to bring back Haruka kids as well, but not entirely sure if that's going to happen. But that was a big hit with.
Two things I understand is that now that you're open for anyone to join Al-Haraka, which is, inshallah, I know we've been talking for quite some time. And as my viewers and my guests know, I usually don't really set questions for the guests. So this is all sort of coming from the heart. That's why you're all passionate about what you're saying. And it goes back, again, you guys all mentioned it goes back to the intention of what these programs are and why we're doing them. And the intention is to serve. And just so the viewers know that all of you take time out of your busy schedules to do these things without getting paid for it, basically. So you're all volunteers, which is amazing. And again, I said this at the start. I'm honoured that I'm part of this Haraka Al-Hussainiya.
Likewise.
Are people open to joining Al-Haraka? And I obviously I know the answer to this, but I want to hear from you guys. Join Haraka, be part of Haraka. What help does Haraka need? Maybe does Haraka need anyone to join them, whether they're, I don't know, professional in a certain
Posters.
Okay, so Mustafa, I'm not.
Said, what do you think?
And just before we start telling people about people joining in, just a quick shout out to the people who have joined in.
Because the team, I can say these are the founders. We are the founders of that. But there's a bigger team, of course.
There are individuals who out there who work tirelessly on like initiatives not specifically done by us for. Like, and that's the charity side. That's the, you know, the support side. And Hayder Al-Kazaz and Hayder Al-Kazaz's brother, Ahmed Kazaz, has been working week in, week out for, I think, about a year now.
Yeah, I think even longer.
Probably longer. And he's been working edit that. He's been working
Tirelessly.
Yeah. To help the community, and specifically those who don't have the funds to buy the essential stuff.
This is from the start of COVID till now.
Yeah. So like the milk, the meat,
bread.
and bread and stuff like that. So, you know, big shout out to Ahmed for like sticking on that kind of initiative and going ahead with it.
Yeah, and actually that's a nice link to say that it doesn't matter what you do. So, for example, when we first started the whole concept of Haraka, there was no idea to do any charity work, right? Whether it be delivering amenities like food or drink or whatever, or I think he's done drop-offs and stuff like that.
He's done it all.
And
to be
there's,
honest.
mashallah,
He's
and,
done it all.
and there's a whole team that he's recruited to help him do that as well. But he ends up, and this is the interesting point. We talked about the kind of the sacrificial commitment that you need. And Mullah Ali was talking about in reference to gaining an opportunity, and we were talking about in reference to making Haraka work. So you need to be fully committed. So this is a disclaimer to anyone listening that thinks, right, I want a bit of Haraka, I want to help out. Your question was, are you welcoming new people? The answer is yes, categorically. The only thing we need from people is commitment. And yeah, Abu Saif Ahmed Al-Kazaz is a great example.
At the end of the day, there's no payment in volunteering, and so the only way that you can make sure that, you know, people are doing the right job is that commitment. Again, more than welcome to Shisma to put in your comments, but we're actually looking for people with expertise in certain area. Coming here to volunteer is great, but tell us what you want to do. We'll tell you what positions are, not positions, but what things that need to be done. But come forward and say, look, I've done this and that in the past. It could be posters, it could be, I don't know, mentoring, whatever it may be.
And by the way, I think that's such a lovely point, Mullah, because what we don't want to do, and I think this is just a smart way to think about how we can expand quite organically as well, is we're not looking for people who are really good at one thing and then say, right, you're the chair stacker, basically, or you're the guy that has to order the food, or you're the guy that has to do this. As in, you know, Mullah's point, if we've got someone who's good with AV, or we've got someone who's good with kind of graphic design, or we've got someone good who can do our posters, or we've got someone, for example, that's got experience on applying for grants or charity status.
It's got a good voice.
Someone that's a reader, someone that's a presenter, someone that can give a lecture. There's no limit. And I think one of the things that I feel, and I'm sure you guys feel this as well, so maybe I'll speak on your behalf, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is not, you know, the reason I don't like the word founder is because we don't have ownership over this. This is something that we're doing for Imam Hussain alayhi salam and for the Ahlul Bayt, right? No doubt. So for that reason, if anyone was come to Imam Hussain alayhi salam and say to him, right, yeah, Imam, I want to help you, this is what I can do. What would the Imam's response be?
Absolutely.
It would never be no. And so that's the same from us. Any form of expertise that you have that could benefit, as Mullah says.
Final question, inshallah. And I'll give each one of you a few moments to think about Haraka in 10 years. Where do you see Haraka Al-Hussainiya in 10 years? With all due respect to my dear brothers, Al-Haraka Al-Haydariya, may Allah bless them. They're all my friends, all my close friends. There's no more Haraka Al-Haydariya. It's established something. It planted the seeds for a lot of people to grow, to have an identity. Very important to have an identity, a balanced identity, that you know that you're a religious person, and each person took his own route in his life that came to Haraka. But where do you see Haraka Al-Hussainiya? Is Haraka Al-Hussainiya going to die down, and then we're going to have Haraka Al-Sajjadiyya, and then Haraka Al-Baqiriyya, or Haraka Al-Sadiqiyya?
I know.
Maybe, yeah.
Is that where do you see Haraka Al-Hussainiya in 10 years? Because, you know, when you have kids and then they're growing up, and you're going to start, Mullah?
I don't mind, yeah.
Yeah.
You seem like you've got an answer ready for me.
No, I've been thinking, like, it'd be amazing to have, first and foremost, a central place that we can call home. With, you know, again, many thanks to D1, but I'd love for a place that, you know, there's like a building that has Haraka logo, and it's a place where, you know, there are offices and people can come.
It's such a shame that same thinking that Mullah Ali has. It's great thinking that I wish we have a Hussainiya for ourselves. That same thinking was present 20 years ago, and we still don't have it.
So look, a venue where, you know, we can't, I don't know. It's difficult because, of course, I want to carry on the weekly programs, but I'd love to have our own place, provide a network of like solutions to people, helping out different organizations, and actually that's a good point. Haruka, Baqariya, Sadiqiyya, like the next generation of organizations becoming a support system for them. Anything they need, even like a bureau of, what do you call it? Like a bureau of advice. Is that what they call it? Something like that.
Yeah.
Advice bureau. A place where people can go.
Citizens.
Yeah, a place where they can go to look. I need a speaker, or I need a, you know, I'm looking to set up an organization. I'm looking to set up a charity, and the first point of contact would be Haruka. Something along those lines. I don't know.
You know what? 10 years. I'm thinking big. You know, like 1,000-acre land.
Oh yes,
You know,
farm.
and a big building, and multi-complex swimming pool.
Yeah.
You know, gym, like fully fledged. I think.
حجي ليش ما حط تليفونك على
Well, I
الساعة؟
thought I did put it on silent.
Well,
I'm
you
really
clearly
sorry.
didn't.
Please
Don't
forgive
do
me.
it.
But
Don't edit
is
this
that
out.
not on
هاي
silent?
حطوها حتى.
Is that
Hey,
not
so
on
why is it
silent?
ringing?
So why is it ringing?
I don't know. I don't have favorites.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about a multi-complex place where something like the Wise, I think it's called
Wise Academy.
something like that. I think would be perfect.
So
for us.
Haruka will still be there.
Yeah, I think 10 years time we'll have a big land.
Ya Allah.
With a big hall, a Hussainiya next to it.
I want to
Remember-
ask more questions. There's so many questions I've got
You
in
know,
my head, but
I think we can reach that kind of. We'll have like 50 employees and
I don't think, by the way,
thousands of people.
I don't think if we're really committed, it'll take 10 years to get like something like Wise Academy.
no, I just said where do you see Haruka in 10 years? I'm not saying
I
it
think
might be in the
I think
next
maybe,
year, inshallah.
maybe to add to that point, rather than just talk about, and I think they're both really important points, which is like the physical side as to where we would call home and what we call our base. I think we have to start thinking longer term. In 10 years, what I would love to see, and I think this is a dream for me, is to have something that's self-sustaining, Haji. So it wouldn't, you know, at the moment we're rolling month to month, right? We need something self-sustaining. We need something that, you know, we're a youth organization, and I'd love to see us be able to take a step back 10 years from now and have an organization that is ran by youth. I think we've got some great examples in our community where there's like, they do elections as leaders, and maybe it won't be at that to extent, but I'd love to see something that empowers our youth to be in charge of an organization that caters for the youth. And touching on Mullah Ali's point, the catering for the youth could be anything, right? Why do we limit ourselves only to, for example, and I think one of the things we try not to here, right, Haruka, but why limit ourselves just to Islamic programs? You know, like if there is a physical hub and the self-sustaining and there's self-funding and we don't have to rely on other people, it could be anything from helping people academically to helping them, as you said, with legal matters, to helping in a range of different issues. So for me, it's just self-sustaining, self-funding, and also have an opportunity to give to the youth so they're able to run it.
No, an organization that basically ticks all the boxes. I think that's the best way to have it in 10 years. And also, sorry, just before we end on that topic, worldwide. You know, I would really like Haruka Hussainiya to be worldwide. You know, if we have a base in America, in Canada, in Sweden, whatever.
Yeah, we need to create a model that we can scale across multiple countries.
Yeah,
basically.
100%. Because Imam Hussein is for the world.
Ahsant.
You know,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
we should be worldwide.
Definitely. What do you think, Haji? What's your views on
What
10
you
years from
guys
now?
said, and if I was to add something, inshallah, Haruka Al-Hussainiya youth, the people that have been attending, watching, will be part of Al-Haraka Al-Mahdawiyya. Inshallah, before 10 years, inshallah, we have the reappearance of the Imam.
Ahsant.
So inshallah, the people watching, the people following, yourselves, everyone, myself, inshallah, will be part of Al-Haraka Al-Mahdawiyya, which is the movement of Imam Al-Mahdi to bring justice into this world. That's inshallah our main aim. I think I speak for everyone to say that at the end of the day, we live under the barakah of the Hujjah, Ajal Allah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. So our main aim is to inshallah one day be able to serve him. So whether it's through
No doubt.
Haraka Al-Hussainiya, Haraka Al-Haydariya or Haraka Al-Mahdawiyya, inshallah that's the main thing I'd
Haraka
like to.
Zainabiyya.
Haraka Zainabiyya.
Oh,
don't
Haraka
forget that.
Zainabiyya.
Haraka-
Yeah, you left that
Haraka
one out.
May
Fadhil.
Allah,
Edit it.
may
Say it again.
Allah bless you all for taking time out of your busy lives.
Absolute
You have
pleasure.
it's a weekend, so you guys have your families, kids to look after. So thank you for making time. Inshallah, we can do this again. Anything we may have said that offended everyone,
I meant
offended anyone, we did not we did not mean any offense, but these are opinions and these are discussions that are taking place, and it's important that we're having these conversations. But at the same time, inshallah, the main thing is that everything that we do goes back to the intention. Thank you for watching. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.